Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Thank you for joining for today's event. Help us enrich StartupGrind Tokyo community, particularly entrepreneurs who are looking to explore their forte in the field of digital marketing, social media management, and in general, your web presence. That is telling your story to the entire globe. Because once you're online, you're open to the world. Lisa has such a brilliant story to tell. But when Lisa started her journey, it was still a very niche industry. Nobody knew where it's going to happen. Nobody knew. There weren't tutorials how to do it. So you have to self-teach yourself. You have to keep yourself updated. You have to learn. To establish yourself in such a scenario is definitely commendable. And not just establish, to successfully influence a whole country, I should say, given South Africa is a brilliant nation. And to be able to do that, it's a phenomenal journey. So Lisa, maybe you could tell our participants a little bit about your journey, how it started, what took you to social media marketing, and how it was to start in such a space where you have to establish yourself without any tutorials, without any guidance, without, in my opinion, even mentors to guide you through.
Thank you so much to both of you for giving me the opportunity to present. Thank you for that welcome as well. I'm Lisa, and my brand and my business is the word architect, and the name kind of speaks for itself. We are architects of words. And while our focus is digital marketing, I would say my base and the beginning all happened with copywriting, which is obviously where the words come in. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago where I decided to go into this avenue. However, I have been writing for published authors for almost 12 years. And then prior to that, just dabbling in the arts of the written word, as it were, for many years before that. You are correct. If you look anywhere now, you can take a course online for free, paid. There's just so much out there right now on social media marketing that there's not a loss for it. But when I started, and I didn't start into the digital market, it was more just copy, creating actual words for people on various levels. That was a lot easier. The digital market itself has exploded. There's just so many platforms you can choose from. There's so many avenues, and it's a minefield. And we hope to take our clients through that journey as smoothly as possible, and to try and hold their hand, as it were, through this. It's an ever-changing animal. There are times when I also just wake up in the morning and go, oh, what changed? And it changes constantly. So it is quite the learning journey the whole time. But yeah, we're here, and most of what I've learned is definitely self-taught. But now, as I said, you can jump on anywhere, and you can, in fact, everyone thinks they're a social media marketer at the end of the day. And we are all in our own rights, because, we all have an account somewhere along the line. But yeah, it's about using it well, which I'm hoping I can help you guys with today.
A lot of opportunities are coming in the market. When I look at your story, you switched from insurance to social media marketing. How were you able to find that courage and identify, okay, this is where there is potential. Let me work on it. How can, and in today's situation, how that can be translated for the entrepreneurs that, okay, there's so many options. How do I find the one that has actually the potential of making an impact?
No, good questions. Just to answer the first one is how did I go from insurance to social media marketing?
Yes.
Ironically, while I ran that business, I never used social media once. So it was actually quite an odd step. However, as mentioned, I started out with copy, and I've always written. I've been writing since a teenager. So that was natural, and that I realized could be turned into a money-making scenario. And that's the base of it. And everything we do right now, while there's a lot else we do, we graphic design and platform readiness and all of that kind of thing, it all has a base of words. So if anything, that was the start. I did realize after doing the copywriting, bringing on some extra people into the business, that I couldn't avoid digital marketing. I couldn't avoid it. You can create pretty words, but what are they going to do with it? Where are they going to put it? And hence why it was a matter of learning and, going into that. And yes, not being a chicken anymore, I had to really put myself out there, because nowadays your youth are so adept at social media marketing. But in terms of choosing a platform, it is a tough one. Everyone wants to be on every platform because they want to spread their risk. There's they think that they should be everywhere, and they really shouldn't. And every time we take on a new client who has that is their first question, we do a digital strategy. So we literally dive deep into what it is they're offering, what is their target market, and where is their target market? Because if their target market is not on Facebook, or they're not on Insta, or they're not on social at all, well, then social media marketing is not for them. And we do go analyze that to make sure that we're not wasting the client's time, creating pretty pictures and boosting posts and doing all this lovely modern way of marketing. And then they never actually ever reach their target market, because at the end of the day, there's the social aspect to social media, but there is the business aspect. And I'm sure we're all here to learn how to use that effectively. But I just go back to that first phase, as we call it, and that's the strategy. Let's make sure you should be here, and then which platform is your target market on, and then how do we talk to them? How do we communicate? That's number one for us. We don't go further than that unless we can solidify those answers.
Lisa, talking about being on the platform and finding where your target market is, right now we are flooded with multiple social media platforms, both some having very targeted audience, so it is sometimes it's more effective for marketing. They might not have millions of users, but they have a threshold number of users that can make or break your business. We have seen TikTok changing the entire content creation scenario, and everybody now aspiring to some extent to be a content creator. What do you have to say about the options, social media platforms that are available right now, or that will see a surge in interactivity, and those can be the one our audience can be consciously aware of in order to be impactful in the long run?
I think it's to answer that, it's important to understand what came first in terms of platforms. Facebook was the leader, and they are still. If you look in terms of how many users they have, they are top of the log. There's in excess of 2.9 billion users on Facebook. Then we go down the list. We've got YouTube with just slightly less, on 2.2 billion. And then WhatsApp, funny enough, is on 2 billion. Given that they are connected to Facebook, does make sense. And then Instagram comes next, and WeChat, which is not such a big thing here in South Africa, but maybe over there and other parts of the world. And then seventh is actually TikTok, which is slowly growing. And that's based purely on user numbers. It doesn't mean that that won't change, that is constantly changing. So what works on Facebook doesn't work on TikTok. What works on Instagram won't work on LinkedIn. And again, I go back to the strategy, choose the platform that works for you. The one to watch is definitely TikTok. It's come into the market as I think it really boosted itself during lockdown across the world. People just went crazy on TikTok because they had nothing else to do. They came up with a million different dances and really, as you said, being content creators in their own right. However, it is changing. There are still those people that are obviously building their brand and earning money off of TikTok by having so many followers, because that's how the platforms work. You hit a threshold of so many followers, and you then start earning off of the platform. That is, some of them people are making a living that way. However, there is the aspect of business. There's businesses on TikTok that are creating content, that are boosting and using the advert side of TikTok to then obviously land up in people's feeds. Again, it's new. I don't think it's been quite tested as much as Facebook has and Instagram on the advert side, but it definitely does work. The trick there and the more hard work on TikTok is actually making the videos, and not just making a video, which you can do without people in it, you actually need to put people in it, and obviously yourself being the brand or the business. And that's not difficult. I mean, that's not easy for people to do, because it means being front and center in front of that camera and perhaps making a little bit of a fool of yourself every now and then, which is kind of how TikTok's built. The more silly you are, the more notice you're going to get. However, again, as I said, it is changing. So it is the one to watch. Instagram is also evolving with some new features. Facebook, traditionally, I don't know what it's like over there, but traditionally on this side, Facebook seems to be the old man's social media platform. However, having said that, every age group is there. If I ask my 13-year-old about Facebook, he'll look at me like, what, Facebook? No. He's more an Insta TikTok guy. There's definitely a trend in terms of age variances across all the platforms. Yeah, just back down to the grind. It really does depend on what you're offering and where your target audience is sitting.
One is being on the right platform where your target audience is. And the second is, how do you engage? Because engagement and impact is very important. And with COVID, we have seen now people's purpose of being on these platforms has changed. They're looking for more happiness. They're looking for more experience, like, being on the platform for more purpose driven rather than delegating your happiness to future. So how do you really identify how to engage, or how you could engage with your customer base or the user base?
Yes, no, good one. A lot of people come into our circle and they think that we're magicians. Number one, we're going to take their brand and their offering and just explode it into the world, and it's going to go viral within days. And we can do so much as content creators and marketers. We can do up to a point. We can definitely take it to a certain level. However, it does require engagement, not so much from the other end of the scale, from the users or the people looking in. It requires engagement from this side. So when a business owner or their staff need to be involved, they need to somehow be interactive. They need to be putting themselves out there, whether it is a podcast, a video, also commenting on their own posts and engaging with other people's posts, because the word social, it's called social media for a reason. You need to be social. And if you're not, and you're simply just putting out pretty pictures the whole time, and there's no real humanness about it or a connection, it's going to eventually fall flat. I say that in one side, and then I look at brands like, for example, Amazon. They definitely have social media going. However, because of the size of them, they have gone past the point of really needing to engage as well as a smaller brand. So startups definitely need to engage more. They're building something, they need to create that human factor. Amazon, I'm not saying they don't need to, they definitely do, and I think at times they do, but there's not one person. It's not just a handful, it's a lot of people behind the brand. So they have to be quite smart with regards to their engagement. And I'm sure they spent a lot of money having the people behind the scenes doing that. Yeah, I think it's important that one does that. If you're starting out fresh, you've got a brand new, Facebook account, Instagram account, you've got no followers. The way to get followers is obviously to invite all your personal close friends. Start there. It's that list 100, build that. They will then, in turn, you'll build your brand, you'll build new connections, you'll invite them. And of course, just by the nature of the algorithm of each of these platforms, by engaging with people on the platform, on posts and socials and stories and all these lovely things you can do, and other people's posts and stories, you will start to build up a flow and a followership that can explode and go viral for sure, but it is a process and you've got to take time with it. I hear of people buying followers. Not a fan. Generally, you wonder, where did these people come from? Why are they willing to be a follower? They've got paid, or are they of the demographic that I need? Most times they're not. So just really be careful about buying followers. While it's an easy thing and it looks good on your profile to have 10,000, 20,000 followers, generally they're not going to make a dent to your revenue and your actual conversion rate. Yeah, engage, whatever that looks like to you. Do it as often as you can. And if you can't do it yourself, employ someone to do it, but it still needs to be real and authentic.
In terms of engagement, we have seen often engagement is considered a success in how many followers and likes you have. And to get followers and likes, you need to grow your reach. Now, it depends on the algorithm of the platform you're using. It can be both organic as well as paid. In long-term value creation, it is usually seen that it is the organic growth that has the impact. Inorganic growth, of the one where you're paying for the followers, it does help in creating an image, but the organic growth is where the real value is, how you connect with the people, how people kind of feel that your brand or your content is creating value in their life. And often I've seen that when you're going in the organic growth direction, it takes a lot of stamina, it takes a lot of patience to be able to build that. And most of the time when you're creating content, you're like, oh, I gotta make the next viral content. And that pressure of creating that viral content becomes so much that somewhere the value is compromised. Because you're like, oh, how do I create something that shocks people? How, as an entrepreneur, as a brand that wants to have that long-term, a value creation brand building, do you handle that omnipresent urge to create this has to be the next viral content? It is supposed to be viral, but there has to be a positive impact of it. It can't be just anything. So what's your take on this? How do you handle it?
Yeah, and as an example, I have a TikTok account for my author brand, my own author brand, and I actually got my assistant to run it for me, to manage it. And she would say, Lisa, okay, fine, this is the trend, one of the trends, author trends on TikTok. Let's, when I come around on Friday, we're going to set us up, we're going to video, we're going to do the whole thing. And I did a couple of them, and then I said to her, I'm not liking this. I'm not loving it. It's so orchestrated. It's so planned, and I realize there are trends. There's some that do them much better than others. And I guess, I understand that's what TikTok is built on, is these, effects and trends and things that you follow. And because you did it, it'll come up in people's feeds because it's popular at the moment. So I get that. But as an author and as a person who wants to remain authentic, it just like, I didn't feel good about it. And then I decided, okay, I'm not doing them anymore. I'm going to go with natural, taking a video, doing a reading from my book, or telling someone something interesting about my journey, just literally the camera and me, and that was it. Those got more engagement, those got more likes, those got more reach than the orchestrated ones. Fair enough, I don't have a you just following on TikTok. That's still something we're working on. But to answer your question, stay authentic, be original, be true to yourself. Yes, you can have fun and do a little trend every now and then because it's good fun. It is. However, try keep it real. Just stay true to your brand, your message, your values. And I feel like you'll get more from that than coming up with orchestrated stuff. In fact, if you don't have anything to post, don't post anything. And yes, try keep it positive. There is a little bit of a weird thing going on social at the moment where people will feel like almost like they journal to the world. They're going to tell the world everything about their life, and it's a lot of it's negative, a lot of it's real negative, which is okay, but it's hard to watch. If anything, just keep it real to the point that you're not offloading your baggage onto everybody, because we're all dealing with stuff. We all just want to get through. We can resonate, but if you're going to put that out there, whether it be about business or personal, try and find the positive to it. So yes, this terrible thing happened. This is what went on. However, I've learned a lesson from it, or because of that, I met someone, or whatever, that kind of thing, which is really tough because that's not always the case. But then I say, rather keep it to yourself. Social media needs to be treated like a stranger that you met. Would you offload on them? Probably not. So why do it to the entire world? I'm not sure I think I went a bit of sidetrack there, but I'm hoping I answered that as best as I could.
No, I guess I totally agree with you, because whatever you put on social media, it becomes your digital CV. It shall stay there, and you shall be very fluid in who you are today and who you shall be in tomorrow. But your history shall always be there for the world to see. So you can't play around with it. So I totally agree with you. You have to be, if you feel like this is not the moment to post it, don't post it. Rethink before posting. Think 100 times, I should say, before posting. And thinking 100 times, one of the very interesting way of social, or one of the very initial forms of social media marketings were emails and LinkedIn's. When it was the professionals who went and started building their brands. Remember, those were the days, and especially on LinkedIn, where there was a certain cloud of overachievers and everybody wanted to connect with them. Tell me about the relevance of it today. Does the concept of having that cloud still holds the relevance, or today is a day and age for micro influencers who are there for more impact? What do you have to say about the email, LinkedIn, and micro influencers?
Along with building a strategy, which I've mentioned, which we do in phase 1 of our journey with the client, is to make sure they profile, and that would be on whichever platform gets chosen and recommended, is that their profile be up to scratch and true to them. So LinkedIn is an obvious one, as you mentioned. It started off as a job portal. It was a place for people to showcase themselves when they were looking for work, almost like a virtual CV. And it's grown to the point that every professional, everyone that's even with or without a job, with or without a business, is on there. It's a growing platform as well. So I would say your profile, your virtual self that you portray to the world, needs to be correct, updated, looking fantastic. It is a great way, especially in the day and age we're living in, where nowadays business is done across many miles. There's no longer that you have to meet people. You no longer have to be in the same country. You actually can do business anyway. So the way that people can connect with you prior to meeting you, maybe after meeting you, maybe even, just whilst they're on the call with you, they're checking you out online. And LinkedIn is a great place. There are a couple of other LinkedIn's out there. Every country, I think, has their preference, but LinkedIn seems to be more of the global one. And of course, absolutely. Make sure that's looking good. And on any other platform, make sure that your information, digital information, is accurate and, again, authentic all the time. So there's a place for it. I think one of the other things you mentioned was it's definitely not just for the affluent or the well-known people. I think it's just everybody's there. And it is a platform that's highly underused. I would say that, in fact, we're leaning towards that becoming our go-to platform when a client comes along. It's not for every product and every brand, for sure. There are some that just don't work there. However, the majority does. And we're definitely looking to showcasing that more, bringing that to the forefront more.
There's this question. Often when you start, even on LinkedIn, if you want to build your presence, often we kind of ignore the aspect of bringing in social media experts. Usually social media experts are still seen as, if you want to sell something, that's when you get them. And you want to sell it big. And when you have a lot of money, that's when you hire them. To get help right in the beginning is still not very popular. And I feel that a lot of brilliant people and ideas are hurt by this aspect because they're unable to put it out there effectively. What do you say to such people in order to kind of help them overcome this inertia of it's just like mental health, right? There is this inertia of accepting that there is a concept of mental health and you might have to visit a therapist. In the same way, there is this concept of building your brand image right from the beginning. So what do you have to say to the entrepreneurs who are just starting in, just like in the space? Okay, right now I'll manage it myself. And when probably I grow a little bit and I have enough funds, then I'll get the best in the market and I'll do it myself. And it's like learn the game. It's ever changing. What advice do you have for these entrepreneurs to help overcome this barrier of taking help?
Yes, well, that's what my business is built on. So hopefully that won't stop anytime soon because we definitely need those people who need our help. However, I say there should be a marriage going forward. There should be a marry of the way that we go forward with that plan to help you be, do or help you present yourself to the world. So yes, as I said, we can create it all. Literally looks like it's you putting stuff out there. We have this process that we try and learn your style, your way of talking. Obviously, we're not talking for you, but we're writing it for you. We try to get to that so that it sounds like the person that is actually on the other side, which we think we do very well. And then we do a lot of that. So yes, it looks like they're the ones talking. We're basically ghostwriting on their behalf, posting on their behalf, ghost social mediaing on their behalf, if it were. However, I always say it's important that they still also be there. They still be posting stuff themselves, again, natural. You don't have to orchestrate everything in LinkedIn, especially. You can absolutely do an off-the-cuff thing. You don't even have to add imagery nowadays. It can be just a message or a poll if you want. So we do encourage and teach our clients to do that. We run a workshop mostly from the beginning to say, this is how the platform works. This is what we think you should be doing. We will do our part to keep that brand out there, to keep the consistency, because what happens in life and in business is they get busy. And then they work, posting every other day. Now they just don't have the time. There's some beautiful scheduling platforms out there. So you can take an hour every month and create, schedule it, and never have to think about it. But the danger in that is that it's all then orchestrated stuff. So you should be doing some live options every now and then. So we try and help with that. We do our bit, but we also encourage and teach people to do that themselves. And a lot of people are scared. They actually are very frightened of putting something out on social. I had one client tell me that once it's out there, it's out there. It can be deleted, but there might be some eyes on it already, and then they've already read your words. And what if they don't like your opinion? And what if whatever you said was wrong and factually it's not, correct? I said, sure, you could say that to someone at a dinner party as well. Once it's out your mouth, it's out. You can't remove it, take it back. It's been said. Social media is the same thing. You can delete it, but it is, it's gone out to the world. So I think just with everything, I'm not a coach of any sort, is think about what you're going to put out there before you do. Turn it over a couple of times, pass it by someone else. Eventually you'll get the drift of it. You'll understand what you should and shouldn't say. Social media is an opinion-based platform, all of them, at the end of the day. So yes, you do need to be a little bit bold and brave. I think if you can't back up something, rather don't. Twitter is one of those platforms that's very much a volatile kind of argumentative debate type of platform. So you'll see a lot of politicians there. You'll see a lot of what I say famous people, actors and entertainers and that kind of thing there as well. Speakers are there a lot. The businesses are there, but they really don't make too much of an impact. So it is a place to voice. I just say be cautious. You can burn yourself so badly on social media. This recent soccer player who somehow someone recorded him doing, terrible things to his cats. It got out on social. I mean, he's been banned. They took his animals away from him. He's got a bad name now. It's like, seriously, just be careful. It's not worth it.
If it's out there, it's for the public to judge.
Yeah,
That's the mantra. Will you have a slide presentation for our audience?
Yes. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. I've got a couple of slides that I thought would be helpful. The topic obviously is about social media. However, it's about navigating your way through it, the minefield that it is, and how to do that smoothly, effectively, and at the end of the day, to get more comfortable with it. My first, like I've mentioned in when you were asking me some questions, is first impressions and what does that mean? What are you putting out to the world the first time that you ever go out there? And it all starts with that profile. So I've mentioned now, looking at wherever your profile is online, ensuring that the photograph that you're using is actually you. It's not from 10 years ago, it's current. You've used a title that makes sense. it's clear to everyone who you are, what you do, what you represent. And you can do that so wonderfully and powerfully nowadays with different profiles and platforms. You can become a creative genius. And if you don't know how, the likes of my type of agency can help. So do consider that number one step is literally that first step is your profile. From there, think about the words that you're using. Words are all powerful. I think that stems back to years and years and millions of years back, that the word is your sword. It is, what are you going to do with it? And of course, you want to be able to entice people. I always say, make sure your words are so delicious that people want to eat them, that once they've read them, they want to more. And there's a term in the industry that's clickbait, which tends to have a slightly negative connotation to it. If you say you've been clickbait, it means you've been hooked in to something that isn't true. However, I flip that and I say, use clickbait, say something in your emails, subject line, or your first message that you send to someone on a direct message. Make sure whatever you're saying there, yes, it's going to be maybe disruptive and what's that about? But it's true. Whatever you're taking them back to is got some value and truth to it. So you have to be a little creative there. And of course, whenever you're doing something online, whether it be, again, a message on WhatsApp, whether it be that email, whether it be that post, that blog, whatever you're putting out there, even if you go on radio and you say something, give that person taking the time to listen to you, to engage, to read your blog, your piece, your post. Give them something. What are you wanting them to do now? Tell them, okay, fine, I brought you here. Now what? It's so amazing how so many people will get you right up to that point where they're talking about the value of something and then they just disappear. They've not told you what to do next. Click on this button to buy, go through to this portal to survey, whatever it may be, give them something to do. They've taken the time, so now you've got to, push them over the edge to the next part of the journey. Emails, you mentioned very briefly, and we didn't really touch on that, are actually so powerful. It's one of the biggest communication tools that people use nowadays. Everybody and their son has got an email address and an account, and it is one of those places where we kind of hide behind the email a little bit, and there is a place for it. I always say, I'm a stickler. My staff get so irritated with me, but I have this thing about emails that if it's not clear what it's about, even who it's from, I get almost like irritated and panicked, because now it's causing me stress. I want to know straight away what this is about and take me longer to work it out. So I say, number one, make sure your name is very clear. You'll be surprised how many people it comes through and it says info. Your name is not info, your name is Lisa, use it. So have your name full front and center. Make sure that your subject line says exactly what this email is about. Remember, people don't have time. They're lazy. They want the instant gratification. They don't have time to wade through your email to find out what it's about. Tell them in the subject line. I have a thing with all our clients. Whenever we email them, we put their name first, their literal brand name. That makes for easy filing of emails as well down the line. Of course, introduce yourself, be nice, ask them how they are. I learned that lesson hard a couple of years back, where I was just so abrupt and to the point and rude, actually. So now I make sure that it's actually in my email signature that I do ask them, how are you? Are you having an awesome day? And then you can move into the actual nitty-gritty of what the email is about. What's not in there is keep it short and simple. Rather, engage them short. And if there is something to be read, put it in attachment, send them somewhere, and move on from there. I know those wonderful DMs. If no one knows what a DM is, it's your direct messaging. We have them on WhatsApp, SMSs, Telegram, Facebook Messenger. That is a DM. They can be irritating, but if you use them well, they can lead to hopefully eventually a face-to-face conversation, which is the end game. Teenagers obviously use them a lot just to communicate. Follow the same protocol, introduce yourself. If someone doesn't answer you there, it may not be their platform, it may not be the right communication tool. And I think that's also a good lesson, is to know who you're communicating with. Are there an email person? Are there a DM person? Are there a phone person? Do you need to actually pick up the phone and, oh my gosh, actually speak to them face to face or on the phone? What is it that that person needs to actually, what is preference to them? You won't know that upfront, but once you don't get an answer on your second DM, you're going to know that's not where you're going to reach them. So yeah, use it all wisely. Every time you use a platform, use it wisely. Content creation is a simple thing. We've mentioned how to be authentic, and eventually once you do it a couple of times, you'll get it. The big error that a lot of people make is that they're not consistent enough. If you know anything about social media, the number one thing is that it's built on algorithms. It's quite a technical back end to every single social media platform. Facebook is brilliant at it. The more you post, the more you engage, the more you interact, the more you get back from it. Like with anything, if you're going to go on an eating plan and an exercise plan, if you don't do it consistently, it's not going to give you results that you were hoping for. The same applies to digital marketing. So I have the 3 C's. Start with creating your theme, your plan, your content plan, your focus, create that first. It might be just jotting it down on a piece of paper, and then you're going to curate it. You're going to design it. You're going to take that beautiful image and that copy that you created, you're going to put it out onto the right platforms. You're going to start building that audience. However, as I said, just putting pretty stuff out is not enough. You need to cultivate it. You need to actually work it in. You need to be engaging, connecting, sharing, being active in that. Taking one step back, I would suggest to every single person out there to choose one platform. Choose one. Too many people make the mistake, I'm going to go have 3 or 4 of them. I'm going to be on every single one. It's just not viable. It's not realistic. You're not going to keep it up. Choose one. Know that platform like the back of your hand. Know it so well that you become your own expert in it, and you work it and you keep it there. When you're more comfortable, you can add in another one that fits your brand and your lifestyle and your offering. But do not go mad with too many platforms. It really is not a good thing. And then I mentioned very briefly that call to action that I'm going to focus on in a little bit more now. I always say, give them something to do before they go. Again, you got them there. They paid attention. You guys came here to listen to this presentation. Let's see what I'm going to give you to do once you leave. So keep that in mind. You had me at hello. We all know where that came from. Give them a reason to actually bother with your content. So it could be obviously that clickbait style video. You've hooked them in with an amazing word somewhere along the line, subject, title. This again applies to emails, posts, blogs, DMs, even your phone call. I mean, that's not digital. Technically it is. Your phone is digital. Even that phone call, when you start out a conversation, how are you doing that? That is your in. It's your enter. It's your ticket into actually starting the journey. Do give your viewers and your connections a sense of urgency without stressing them out. That sounds like a contradiction in itself, but there are certain words that you can use. We all know what a verb is. Use these command verbs. So you want me to do something. It's a little bit marketing 101, but there are words that you can use like buy, do, hit, click, all these things that are command verbs. They're getting them to do something in a positive manner because it gets them thinking, okay, hang on, I need to get through this so that I can do that. And that should be sort of even if it's as simple as, phone me, get hold of me. That's a command verb or sentence. Know your devices. We don't all claim to be tech savvy. However, if you want to continue in business, you have to consider upskilling yourself across the platforms, across the devices. Know them well. Are your clients on mobile? Are they desktop? Are they absolutely not on social media? As I said, they could just be, they could be Joe Blog that doesn't actually ever go on social. You need to reach him. How do you do that? And you need to give them something back all the time. How do you do that? And then emojis or emotives. People are scared to use them. There's some obviously ones that mean certain things and others that are just fun to have in. You can definitely filter those into your copy and into your connections and your communication, but use them wisely. Don't go like teenagers do, where every other word is an emoji. That's not necessarily going to help you. And then, of course, you need to understand who your demographic is. Do they respond to that type of communication? All right. So at the end of the day, whether you're running a business with 20 or 50 or 100 staff, whether you're a standalone business owner, whether you just, forging yourself slowly to develop a career or a brand, think of yourself as a thought leader, and the ways that the sections or the areas that you should be focusing on are these. In no particular order, although there definitely is a path and a journey here. I would say have a strategy, have a plan. No one should start anything without a plan. From that exercise plan to the business that you're starting, have a plan. Sometimes you need someone, an expert, to come in and help you. Know that whenever you start something, you must be able to measure it. So we started at 0. We're trying to get to 50. How are we doing that? And then measuring it occasionally as you go along the path. Because sometimes, and something I've had to learn myself and take stock of, is that sometimes you have to let go of something that's just not working. And if you're measuring it, you'll know if it isn't or is. Other parts that you need to consider is your media relations. That would be, again, the platforms that you're using, the content development, how are you building that, growing that, actually, having a plan around it. What are you doing in your messaging, in your wording? What does your design look like? Content syndication has to do with all the other bits and bobs that you bring in, crossover content. This probably sounds like Greek to a lot of people, but there is a method in all of this. And then, of course, the demand generation. Do people want more? Do they want less? How often are you doing this? So these are things to think about as a thought leader. And then lastly, from our side, the way that we do that is we have a 4-phased approach. We call it omni marketing. And it generally starts with working at your own media. What is it that you have, that strategy, that content, your brand, your target audience, really taking it home. What is it that you have? Is it valuable to the rest of the world? Then we go into sharing it to the platform. So that's phase 2. Where should you belong? Actually putting it out into the world because now it's ready. Going to phase 3, you now built a bit of a brand and a name for yourself. How can we earn off of that? You could be earning from where it go, but how can we earn more? Bringing in other media, other communities, partnerships, collabs. The world is not just you, it's everybody, and you need everyone in your world. And then lastly, we look at phase 4, which is where you actually start to look at paid media. Some people push that straight up to number 1. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes they merge across each other, but it gives a clear divide as to the sections that you should be considering when building a brand and a business in the social media world. I think that is my slides all done. My call to action to you is to do this one thing. Go and find your platform that resonates with you. If you're not sure, by all means, hook me up. We can chat about that, but choose one. Get to know that so well. Make sure your profile looks great. Make sure that you're comfortable there. Even spend a bit of time just stalking and sitting like a troll, as they call them, in the background and checking out what other people are doing. My whole team are here to help if anybody needs help, but I think that's a great start for anybody who's looking to get into this or is just completely lost and not sure where to go next in the social media world.
Thank you, Lisa. So that's a brilliant presentation. All the time was taking screenshots and putting down the notes. I should say this was a very 101 of social media brand building. How much time we should spend on promoting?
Well, at the end of the day, all you're doing is promoting, really. But I think I understand the question. So there's a fine line between, selling. You need to be very gentle with that, I think. It doesn't matter what you're offering to the world. And there needs to be a lovely mix of showing the value in yourself as a thought leader again, and then the value in your product, because we are all here to make money. We're not, unless you are a charity organization, you're still actually here to make money. So we're here to make money. We're here to grow ourselves, grow our bank accounts. And in order to do that, you need to have a really nice mix of, yes, I'm here, I'm an expert in my field, this is what I do. Add something, give something back, don't expect it back, don't expect something back in return. So give the information, give. It does come back. In between, you're starting in, your offerings. It's a subtle thing. It can be quite hard. Some people just want to go in there, and completely sell the whole time. So we are promoting, depends on what you meant by promoting. You're promoting yourself, you're promoting your brand, your product or service. But at the end of the day, think about giving information, value. And when people see that, they will want to do more with you. So that will come naturally. In order to know which time or day is the best to post, you actually have to go with a bit of trial and error. There, you can Google and ask, say, for example, you're an author, what's the best time? And, to go, they'll come up with some answers, but they are opinion-based. Best thing is to put a couple of posts out on different days and times, go back and see what was the engagement like on each of them, and then you'll get an idea of when is a good time and day to do your posting for your particular offering. That's the best answer there. I think that the answers are all out there. Google is an amazing platform itself, so you can literally put anything and find it there. However, don't always believe everything you read. I think you need to actually get in elbow deep and actually try things yourself. Start with the one platform, learn it well, get to know it, get to know your brand, see what works, what doesn't. It is a bit of trial and error. You can take as many courses as you want in social media marketing, and they are helpful, but do get in there and actually experience it for yourself. That is the best advice I can give. Thank you very much for having me. I hope it was valuable.
I would like to thank all our audience for being such patient participants. So we look forward to seeing all of you again for our next event. Until then, it's a good night. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Startup Grind.